And I'm Ahura Z.
And welcome to this week's edition of Ask the Unicorn. So I have a few questions for you from our viewers. And how do you feel about that? We'll get started right away.
Sounds fine.
The first question I have says, I was reading my cards and the death card kept coming up. What does that mean? Am I going to die? And that's coming from Chelsea Turner from Chicago, Illinois.
Okay. Chelsea, you're not going to die. Okay? But if you got the death card the first time, that means that there's a choice to be made. A choice to either change something or let something go. Okay, that's what that is. I understand that in television and movies nowadays, the death card has been misused a lot, because every time someone sees it, you hear the funny music, da da da, which means, which means that someone's going to die, and there will be blood. But that's not it. It merely means that there's an opportunity for a change, and you have a choice to make. But in the future, when you get a card more than once, back away from the tarot deck and accept the answer that you got.
Now I have a question. So once you get a reading done, or you do it yourself, is it etched in stone?
Okay. First off, you cannot do a reading for yourself. I don't care who you are, you cannot do a reading for yourself.
Why not?
Well, because you'll only tell yourself what you want to hear.
Well, isn't that the good part?
It's like looking in the mirror and telling yourself, I'm not fat. You know, you can't. I don't care who you think you are.
Well, that's a good thing to bring up, because a lot of people think, you know, nowadays they have the internet tarot deck. Did you go and give a reading for yourself? But
oh, yes. The internet tarot deck.
yes, you can get a reading done by the computer.
Oh, yeah.
Is that technically like you giving it to yourself, or is the computer doing the reading?
That's technically like being crazy. Okay? Yeah, I know that, but it's real. But the truth is, it's ridiculous. I mean, come on. You're leaving your fate in the hands of a piece of machinery. Mm-hmm. It's like what's that Doritos commercial?
Yeah.
You know, the guy shakes the ball and goes, "It's real," and then throws the ball at the glass. You know, look, there are certain things that are the way that they are, regardless of what you believe. You cannot give a reading to yourself. If you feel that you need a reading, go to someone who is actually capable of doing a reading for you. It's okay. I won't tell anybody that you have to go to someone else for help. It's all right. You know, I don't try to read myself. I don't need a reading. And I know that I don't need a reading. I mean, things are apparent to me. However, there are those that don't see things the way that I see them. So I provide a service for those people that can't see. And when you do get a reading, it is not for someone to decide what your future is going to be. They cannot tell you what to do. When a person gives you a reading, you go to them so that they can help you navigate your way through a problem, or to find a solution to a problem, or to reach a benefit that is there for you. Now, that does not mean that person is supposed to think for you. So all you people that go to someone and have them burn a candle on their altar or put a crystal in your hands and tell you that for $900 I will take care of this for you, you're being silly, okay? First off. Now all of you other people that say, well, I can't make a move without the person that does a reading for me, and I need to go get a reading every other week, again, you're being dopey, okay? That you don't need that, okay? The absolute most that I've ever dealt with a person, and this has been my choice, and not theirs, is maybe once every 2 months. And it's usually just for a tune-up. You have to wait for certain things to happen before you can go on to another reading. I've had people come in and say, well, do you think I should come in once a week? And I look at them and I go, no. Why? Why do you want to come in next week? First, you'll annoy me. And second, it means that you're not listening to what I told you in the first place. So this goes back to, if you pick up the card and it says the death card, think about what that really means before you reshuffle the deck because you didn't like it. Okay, no, I don't like that answer. You pick it up again, no, don't like that one either. Just back away.
Well, in reality, though, if you're having a tarot reading by someone who knows what they're doing, wouldn't you keep getting the same thing over and over again?
Not necessarily.
Within a short period of time? Or
No,
would you
that
get
person, if they know what they're doing, they're not going to do it again for you. Unfortunately, we have a lot of charlatans that are just interested in the money that will say, well, fine, I'll do another one for you. And there are a lot of people that do that. Even people such as, what's her name? Sylvia Brown? Linda Brown? Sylvia Brown?
Yeah.
These people are interested in the money. And unfortunately, there are a lot of very, very gullible people. So you'll get an answer and says, oh yes, this particular person's, they say, I'm getting an R, an R. There's someone with an R. There's someone, is it Ralph, Chris, Robert, something, an R, and then the person will say,
Human nature.
Ray, and then they go, yes, that's it, it's Ray. That'll be $500, please. No. You get a reading, fine. A reading is supposed to be more like a counseling than anything. Just to help you to think. Help you to make sense of what was, what is going on, and what to do with what's to come. Okay, so when I sit down, I tell them, look, if there's a problem that comes up in your energy, I will give you the quickest possible solution, which is what a reader is supposed to be. The solution, not part of the problem, not an ongoing problem, but a solution right then and there. Or, if there's something that will benefit you, I will get you there. I'm not going to do it for you. I'm not going to walk down the street and talk to this person that you need to talk to, but I will tell you, you should probably talk to this person. And I think it would be a good idea if you did speak to this person, and even tell you how to speak to them.
Right.
But I'm not going to think for you.
So in theory, it's just like a guide for you, and then if there is something in there that disturbs you, you still have the possibility of changing the outcome
Of course you do.
by your actions.
You do.
in the
That's
now.
what the choice is.
Okay.
Okay? A person like myself, I'm a telepath. I'm a little different from a psychic. A telepath is just someone who can see further and not dependent on a person's energy. In other words, I don't have to have a person's energy right there to do what I do.
Right.
Okay? They can be half a world away. If I need to see them, I can. Even bigger situations, and I have actually on our website in the paranormal investigations team that I train, said that we would be more than happy to help different groups, local, state, and even federal level groups develop themselves in the area of psychism and paranormal research and paranormal evaluation, so they know what to look for. Because there's some things that even our military may understand now, but they don't get that there are other countries that actually have these groups working for them, and it'd be a good idea for us too. And I'm sure we do now. By now, we're not so slow as people like to believe that we are.
And a little bit off topic, why do you think people, especially law enforcement, have such a stigma about bringing in psychics or telepaths or people with abilities to be able to, let's say, find a body or figure out who did a particular crime?
Well, one, because there's always been this war between physical and metaphysical. In other words, there's always been this war between science and spiritualists. And most of the science that is going on now isn't really about pure science, it's about making money. And I got that straight from the mouth of a person who used to be in the Atomic Energy Commission.
Right.
Then I told him, I said, look, I can't stand scientists. I said, they only tell you stuff that's already there, like water is wet. If you go to sleep up under an apple tree full of ripened apples, you will more than likely get hit in the head. Okay? Things like that. And then they dismiss everything else, when the fact is, if they consulted people of a paranormal nature, or what they call paranormal, then we could have something like a spaceship that could actually reach the sun, or one that could go to Jupiter to determine whether or not Jupiter can sustain life, rather than to have us believe that Jupiter can't sustain life simply because they said so.
Right.
Okay?
So
So
it's
there's
very
always been
limiting.
this,
Right.
battle between the two of us. So when it comes to police work is about down and dirty, just grassroots. We're going to do this investigation, and this A leads to B to C to. Well, a paranormalist can go from A to Z.
And skip everything in between.
And skip
right.
everything in between. It's very difficult to discern only one form of energy. Okay, you have to remember that the moment that a person breathes in the general direction of a body of evidence, they've mixed things in.
Right.
Okay, So for a person to come in,
Which is funny because that is the forensic science. I mean, that's the reason why when you're a police officer and you're investigating a scene, you have to be totally covered because they don't want your DNA or your hair or your skin cells falling into this, crime scene.
That's the thing.
So
Energy
it's the
works
same
much the
thing
same way.
psychically,
Yeah, it works the same way. I mean, if you come in after a crime has happened, and you walk in and through, a psychic is going to come in and go, well, all I get is your energy. I mean, I get something else, but your energy, it's the freshest energy that's there.
It's really funny that you say that because when you do work a crime scene, that's the biggest problem as police officers that happens is that if the initial officer on the scene doesn't secure that scene, it gets mucked up with everybody else's walking footprints and all that stuff. So it's the same principle.
It's the same thing.
That happens when you have an exact science like forensics, but when you explain to somebody that also happens psychically, they look at you, yeah, okay, whatever.
You get people that claim to be able to do this, and there are people that can, and some very good ones.
Right.
However, there are those that are in between.
Right.
That really, they call themselves a sensitive, but they kind of disqualify themselves. And let me tell you what the disqualifiers are. One, if there is a person that is a quote-unquote psychic, that is in any form of medication that has to do with depression or a psychosis of any type, and they're on the medication will cause them to warp their senses.
Right.
If they have a drinking problem or a drug problem, they're warped, which basically means it's kind of like taking a fine-tuned piece of equipment and doing this with it.
Right.
And expecting a proper reading. It's just not going to happen. Or else you get someone who just learned a few psychic things and decided that they were an indigo child. and decided that qualified them to be able to pick up a psychic emanation.
Right.
Okay, or someone who's been a plumber all of their lives that decides that makes them a paranormal investigator because they had an idea. Okay, you get these people that go in and the police expect so much of them, and they get in and they fail not because they're bad people, but they're just ill-equipped.
Right.
Okay, I don't go in and tell the police I can find anybody. I can do this, I can do that. I don't say that. I can follow a trail. I'm kind of like a bloodhound. I can do that.
Right.
Great. But am I going to do it as a clown, as a show? No. I mean, I've offered to help the police. Of course I have. I mean, who wouldn't?
Right.
If you could see, why not? If you're the person that has the muscle, it's your job to push the car out of the road.
Right.
So I've offered, unfortunately, because many of the people that have decided what a psychic looks like, or what a telepath looks like, or what sex a telepath should be, I don't get called.
That's really strange.
Once in a while I get called, but people who have tried everything else, I'm usually the last resort.
It's funny though, because that goes to what we would be talking about the fact that, people just judge people by the way they look or the way they are. Because, years ago, they would have never thought of having females in law enforcement or in the military.
Yeah.
Yet again, now we're finding out that they're a viable tool. Obviously, they're not going to go knock the door down, but they can talk someone down, or they can, comfort someone in a real challenging situation.
Typically, women are better shots.
That too. Too. But it's just the fact that you're right. It's just them prejudging what someone should or should not look like. And if you're not that, like you said, airy, hairy, fairy kind of thing with the crystals and the vibrations and all, they just can't imagine someone being a psychic or a telepath that looks like
really,
you.
It's unfortunate actually, because I'm very ordered. When I do an investigation, I'm very, very ordered. My whole standpoint is to get the person in a normal state of being as quickly as possible.
Right.
Okay, without any confusion, without any fear. I don't go into a place saying, "There's so much pain." It's the vibrations. I don't tell spirits to go into the light because I haven't seen that light, and I really don't want to see that light because it would mean I'm dead. I mean, so why would I tell someone to go into a light that I do not see?
And what if they don't want to go? It's free
If they
will.
don't want to go, they don't want to go.
Right.
Look, it's free will. Free will doesn't end just because a person loses their body. It doesn't. And I've seen all kinds of things, but I think it's ironic that Ghost Hunter never found a Tyrannosaurus Rex. nobody ever, reports other things that they've seen. You know,
Right.
it's just there's this person that, but then it's like this person will say, "There's a person, I saw this man, and I don't see anything, but I saw this man. He was standing there. He was doing this. He was doing that." And I said, "Well, he says, but I'm not psychic." And I look at the person and go, "Okay, let me explain this to you. Everyone is psychic. It's just that you don't focus on that particular end of your life, and therefore it's sporadic. It only happens when things are hugely manifested."
Right.
And I don't care if you turn off the electricity in your house. Doesn't make a difference. You can have all the electricity on in your home. When people see these shows and it shows them with that little green, the night light thing, that just shows that they're afraid of the dark, really.
Basically, yeah.
Pretty much. But even then, if you're supposed to be in the dark and there's nothing but a night vision camera on, you don't ask a person who's holding the camera on you if they saw something.
I always thought that was pretty funny.
Did you see that? No, it's dark.
I always thought that was pretty funny.
I'm sorry. I still can just never get over the, "Get out of here! Hurry up! Let's go! Run! Run!" You're running from a spirit.
It's gonna beat you to wherever
Yeah.
you go.
It's gonna be on that side too. It's like Droopy Dog.
Oh my
What
goodness,
running?
that's too funny.
So
Well, the next question is, I actually have a viewer from my hometown, Lowell, Massachusetts, Chad Matthews. He wants to know, "I think my house is haunted. How do I tell, and what do I do?"
well, you've already told because you said you think your house is haunted, which basically means that there's something that happened that caused you to believe such a thing. Figure out what you did physically that would cause you to believe that your home was haunted. And if you've exhausted all of those possibilities, then start asking other questions. Once you discover that there are some paranormal activities that are going on in your home, that's when you contact a person like myself or other people that are reputable. And what I mean by reputable is not someone who's just doing it because of sensationalism or because it makes them extremely popular, but someone who's going to actually educate you in the field of paranormal research and activity.
Well, that's a good point to bring up, because you brought up earlier that you can't run away from something that can manifest itself anywhere, because it's only just go where you are. So with that in mind, what are the signs? Obviously, you're saying that you don't need monitors or sensors or any of that.
No, that was a person's idea of trying to catch a ghost on tape or trying to catch a ghost in camera. And they come up with all different types of gimmicks, such as maybe the dust mote that is on the lens of the camera is a spirit orb. Let's turn off all the electricity in the house or in the general area so that we can have what is known nowadays as dead time, neglecting the fact that the earth runs on electromagnetism, your body runs on electromagnetism, so you can't really turn that electricity off.
Right.
But people like gimmicks. Okay, listen, I respect science as much as the next person. However, there's some areas where science has to take a back seat, especially when you're dealing with the paranormal and the spiritual. Science needs to accept this. Most people, as a matter of fact, there are a lot of skeptic societies that say you go into every situation being a skeptic. But even to pick up this little candle holder shows a paranormal experience. Remember, everything that there is started off as an intangible before it became a tangible.
Right.
Which basically means to say that the metaphysical or the paranormal doesn't really exist is like saying that we as human beings don't exist.
Right.
That the books don't exist, the table doesn't exist, the building doesn't exist. Remember, everything started off as a thought. And before it was thought, it was energy. Okay? So when you're talking about things that are haunted, is it really haunted, or are you just picking up an energy signature? Or are you just picking up something that is in the air, okay, that happened to be focused in at a certain point? And in my classes that I teach people the difference between what a ghost is and what a spirit is.
Right.
A ghost is something you can't really interact with. If you see a ghost in your home, as long as it doesn't jump out at you or cause you to be possessed or cause you any other malfunction in your home, why be bothered by it? Eventually the energy from it will dissipate if you just leave it alone.
Right.
When we do things like call these silly little groups in with all of their electrospectrophone things, what we do is, one, blatantly disrespect the whole spiritual world. Two, put our lives and our homes in the hands of people that wouldn't know a ghost if it walked up and slapped them. And three, basically says that anything that has any amount of imagination or creativity or possibility of a beyond or a higher presence or even a lower presence doesn't really exist. Which basically says that humanity in and of itself doesn't exist, because remember, we are all a combination of both higher and lower vibration.
Right.
So to have a skeptic society or someone that says we're here to disprove whether or not there are ghosts, and especially when these people are just plumbers, that's where their expertise is in. They can't see a ghost,
Right.
they can't hear a ghost, they can't feel a ghost, they can't see a spirit, but they want to be the experts in the field of paranormal. That is called abnormal. Okay, but to answer this person's question, if you're writing and saying that and asking the question of how do you know whether or not your house is haunted, it means that you're experiencing something. And if you can't be real sure of it, just call a person like myself, and then we can explain it to you. Maybe even come out to your home to your satisfaction, give you a valid investigation. I'm not going to set things all over your house and monitor in the dark whether or not this spirit decided to come and traipse around your home at night and then return to its decaying, decrepit body during the daytime. I will give you a valid explanation as to what it is that you're seeing, based upon my own vision, not the vision of a little thing that is no more complicated than a stud finder. Okay? So, you just call it a good group of paranormal investigators, real ones.
That's excellent. This is another good question here, because I've heard a lot about this, and it's nice that you'll be able to explain it. It said, I recently took a test from a book on auras, and it indicated that my aura is crystal. There's a guy where I work who says he can see auras. He told my friend that he cannot see mine. When my friend and I stood together, he said that he saw her color around each of us. Do crystal/indigo children have clear or crystal auras? And I've read that they have special gifts and healing abilities and are very spiritual. What do you think about all of this? And that comes from Marie.
That's a broad question.
It is, it really is. Now, just to break it down a little bit, what exactly do they refer to when they're talking about crystal auras?
Well, when they're talking about a crystal aura, they're basically talking about a person's vibrational frequency field, which in earlier times we called auras. Based upon the electromagnetism in a person's body and their connection to the etheric field of the earth, they wind up glowing, or to those of us that can see it, they have a color, a spectral color. Now, a while ago, someone decided that they wanted their child to be more special than other children. So they developed a whole group called Indigo children, which were, then they wound up doing a whole movie and a whole book called the Indigo Prophecy, and these particular children were supposed to be special, and they're so troubled and there's so much pain, and they're only born between a certain year and a certain year.
Right.
My vibrational frequency field really is to indigo, and I'm sorry I wasn't born between those times. I was born in 1960, so I guess that disqualifies me as the new indigo children. But nevertheless, we developed these particular things in order to segment or put ourselves above. I didn't go through, and remember, I'm qualified because my vibrational field is indigo.
Right.
I didn't go through periods of I'm in so much pain or separate myself from other children or things like that. I just wanted to survive. And the best way for me to survive was to learn and to process and to use what abilities that I have. True, I can see, I have healing abilities. I didn't need someone to tell me this. I didn't need to read a book to tell me this. But I didn't think that I was any different than anyone else. I believe that everyone could see.
Well, on that question, adding to this, it says that, she says the guy at work says that he can see auras. What ability do you have to be able to see auras? Is that something that you can learn, or is that something you're born with?
Eventually, you can learn, but some people are just born with it, like myself. It doesn't make us any different from those that are not born with it. It's just that when you get used to something, it's like being left-handed. You're left-handed no matter what you do.
Right.
So when someone comes along and they have to use their left hand, they have to learn to use their left hand. Now look, this whole planet is psychic. There's not one person on the face of this earth that is not psychic to one degree or another. It's just some of us get a little more, and some of us get a little less. But if you train yourself and you hone your skill and you really want to develop that ability on the inside of you, it is definitely possible. What you have to do is find a mode of discipline, find someone that can help you. You don't go to a person who is not psychic to learn how to be a psychic.
Right.
Okay, you don't go to a person that can't see to have them explain a color to you that they have no clue of. And many of these people that have written the books have decided that these are indigo or crystal aura children, but I would ask you, okay, which crystal? There are thousands of crystals. You can't just go up to someone and tell them you're a crystal aura, and I don't see your aura, but I see your friend's aura, and when you stand together, I see both her aura around both of you.
Well, that's good because she mentions that in here too, that the guy that worked that tells her that he can't see hers, but can see her friend's.
Yeah.
What does that mean, that her friend's colors are surrounding both of them and he can't see hers?
She might have been in some form of an emotional state. She may have been very low energy, because remember I said it's our vibrational frequency field as it connects into the etheric field of the earth. And maybe at that particular time she could have been tired. She could have informed him of what she read about crystal aura, and then
so
he just
definitely,
you know, he said, well, yeah, I can't see your aura, but I can see your friend's aura if you guys stand close to each other. And one of the things, if I remember this particular prose of crystal aura, is that they take on the properties of other people. But I don't see that any different than anyone else. If you hang around a group of people, you're going to take on that group's properties.
Right.
Okay, and eventually there's an osmosis that takes place. So for anyone to set themselves apart by calling themselves a crystal aura child or an indigo child, well, evidently the crystal aura is more special than the indigo children. And there was a while ago where there was a fuchsia vibration which was really special, but no longer here because they're extinct. You know, at that moment in time, what happens is you lose the whole point of metaphysical growth or paranormal growth.
So that means is there any validity to the fact that so-called crystal indigo children have special gifts and are very spiritual, or?
Well, there could be some validity, but no more than a person who has a pink aura or a person who has a purple or polka dot aura or whatever.
Well, when you're talking about the different colors, what's the difference? Is there any difference between the colors? Does that make one person more special, quote unquote, than another, or is it just that we have different frequencies?
We have different frequencies. No one color is more special than the other. I don't care what anyone tells you. I don't care what you've read. I don't care who you've spoken to. If the person has any bit of knowledge, they'll tell you the exact same thing. There is no difference in how special a person is. It depends upon what a person has experienced. It depends upon what faction they come from, what their lives were like. Maybe they were born with an ability and decided to deny it. And then later on it came out. Or they were born with an ability and decided to keep going on it. If both of us, you and I, get violins, and they're the exact same violin, and I pick it up and start playing it, and you pick it up and start playing it, but then decide you don't like it.
Trick,
but you decide you don't like it.
You're right.
Then you put it away. 20 years from now, because I've been playing, and you decide, okay, maybe I should pick it up again, and you pick it up, you're not going to be so good.
Exactly.
Okay? Of course, I'm going to be better, but that doesn't mean I'm more special than you. It merely means I kept going.
Right.
Okay? Well, it's the same with anything. You can't say that any one of the candles that are on this table is more special than the other. No matter what their color they are, they have different vibrations and can be used for different things, but they still have one common denominator. They are candles, and they supply fire.
Now, the thing with auras, before we get to the last question, is that it's really no more different than eye color or skin color or personality. It's just that's your color, and then that's just the manifestation of who you are or how you're feeling at that particular time. Why do people create this like mystery around it, like it's so out there?
Well, they do that to cause an exclusivity. In other words, we like to segment things. We like to separate things, and you can tell that by our own society. You know, if you're dark skinned, then the people that are lighter skinned have a problem with you, and vice versa. If you're from this race, then you have a problem with this race, and so forth and so forth and so forth. And it's even gotten so absurd to people believe that women are more metaphysical than men, and I don't know what that's based on.
Right.
Someone decided to write a book, I suppose.
We need you to write a book then to explain it better.
Well, I'm too busy helping people. I mean, this is what I do. I mean, if you here's my book. Okay, I can't really just deny people and deny my work to sit down and write a book. I don't have the time. People need my help. I can't write a book about them and tell them, wait until I'm finished writing the book about helping you.
And then they can buy it and read it.
Yeah, well, eventually that'll happen. Those of us that are actually doing the work don't find that kind of time.
Right, because you're too busy actually doing it.
Yeah.
So the reality is that it's just another part of nature, another part of creation that someone has decided to try to separate these people.
Well, of course.
From
I mean,
everybody
people like myself are definitely a little different, and mostly because we make a choice. Those that walk around ungrounded, airy-fairy, decide that a crystal can talk to you. Oh, this crystal is talking to you. Can you hear what it's saying to you? Can you feel it? And you put it to your ear, and then you look up on the bottom, and it says $250. I heard that loud and clear.
Oh yeah.
It said, "Put me down."
Yeah, that's what my husband says. You put that right back, crystal or not.
Yeah, you know, when we start doing things like that, because remember, if you can hear that crystal by picking it up, why couldn't you hear it when it was in the earth?
Very true.
I mean, why couldn't you do it then? We're here to help each other, but we're here to help each other by example. We're here to help each other to come together and be one with everything that there is, not just some things. You know, you'll talk to the person that says, you know, I'm a very spiritual person, and from my understanding, spirituality means reality. Okay.
Exactly.
Because you always start with the reality. You know, you have that person that says, you know, I can manifest a fireball in my hand, and then they come in and they tell you that they have a drug problem. I'm not going to excuse it. I say, okay, well, how about we forget about the fireballs and get rid of the drugs, because that might be why you have the fireball in your hand.
Right, exactly.
And then I began by, when I trained them, I began to get them grounded. Look, common sense first. You need to eat. You need a roof over your head. You need certain things. Then we can worry about all that other stuff a little later. You know?
Right.
If you want to learn to meditate, if you want to learn to see auras, or if you want to be able to read the smoke from the incense, or read the candles, you don't need to be a crystal, indigo, fuchsia. You don't need to be any of those things.
Right.
We all have that opportunity. One race is no more spiritual than the other race. Okay, one sex is no more spiritual than the other sex. You don't have to be taller or shorter. You don't have to be have one green eye and one blue eye. That does not make you special. Okay, it just doesn't. There are a lot of special people on this earth, and they're special because they do things that are special. Okay, if you want to be special, then do something that's special. Don't expect people to just look at your magnificently glowing metaphysical aura and decide that you're special.
Right, right.
You know, so when I hear things like indigo children and crystal children, and I can see auras quite well. I mean, I've always been able to see them. It's just a matter of looking. That's not paranormal to me. That's quite normal.
Right.
I don't look and say, well, you're an indigo child, then you must be able to see my aura. You know?
Right.
Because it's about that ridiculous.
Right.
Look, I understand. We all want our children to be special. We all want our children to be beautiful and be above the crowd. But the truth is that one child is no more special than the other. And if your child did not come up to you and tell you, I am an indigo child, you must therefore respect me. I am a crystal aura child. You must then, and if you had to tell your child that they are an indigo child, and you can't see auras, it means that what you're saying is caca. Okay, so a person who's a crystal aura or indigo aura, if they are supposed to have special abilities, shouldn't have to go to someone else to have them tell them what they are.
Well, that makes sense to be able to see it for themselves.
Yeah, I never have to have anyone tell me what I am.
That's a good explanation. It's nice to figure out what the differences are.
Good.
Okay, our last question. My grandmother contacted me through my Ouija board. Was that really her? And that's from Cindy Smith from Spokane, Washington.
Okay. I'm not going to say whether or not your grandmother truly contacted you, okay? But if the person that you were speaking to contacted you through the use of a Ouija board, guess what? That was not your grandmother, okay? It wasn't, look at real close. That was not your grandmother. That was someone posing as your grandmother. Do we understand each other? Good, good. The Ouija board is something that should never be used. Everyone that is watching this is exactly what I think of Ouija boards. They are evil. You can name the Ouija board whatever you want to, because in many airy-fairy, new agey places, they will call them angel boards, or spirit boards, or this board or that board. Look, you can take a gun and you can put any wonderful name on it that you want to. It will still shoot people. And the Ouija board is dangerous. Okay? That was an astral entity that was posing as your grandmother because they read your mind pretty much and knew what you thought of that particular entity. They can take a memory, an astral entity can take your memories and form them and copy those memories and talk to you if you're open. Now, the moment that you use a Ouija board, you have to remember that a Ouija board is actually a contract. Okay? In other words, what you see is yes, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc., etc., etc. And that's what it looks like to you. You wind up using that little thing. And let me tell you something. For those of you out there that are skeptics, that believe that Ouija boards do not work, you're wrong. They do work. Okay? They are 100% effectual, and it is based upon your own level of concentration, which is why it usually takes more than one person to use them. And they'll even tell you, all of the little writings on them, never use one by yourself. But I'm going to tell you, and I'm not writing anything, I'm going to tell you, do not use a Ouija board because you will wind up with an obsession and an attachment. You will ruin your life. You will have signed a contract that you cannot pay. Okay? It looks like yes and no to you. But you do not know what you are answering yes or no to. Okay? You believe that you're at, will I be rich? And of course that entity is going to say, have you point to yes. Partially because that's what you want to be. And partially because that entity has a motive. And that motive is to get you to say yes to them wanting to coincide with you. Because they can say, on their end, and you kind of have to flip it over. On their end, it looks like this. Can I come out and live with you? And you say, yes. Now, there are certain things that are in operation all the time, whether you believe in them or not. I don't care. You can go to the greatest skeptic, and you know, you can even go to that really old guy that like goes around and tells people, if you can prove that you're psychic, I'll give you $1 million. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. You can go to him too. I don't care. Any of them. I don't care. Find the most skeptical person that you want to, and I will look them dead in their face and tell them that they are a moron. Okay. You can go to them and they'll tell you whatever they want to, but look. The spirit operates whether or not you believe in it. It's like that sun will always come around whether or not you believe in it. And you can sit out all day and say that I don't believe that the sun is shining. I don't believe in the sun is shining. I don't believe that the sun is shining. And you can do so until the dead of night. And I will ask you one question. Can you see stars? And if you can, that sun is shining. Can you see anything? And if you can, that sun is shining somewhere. Whether you believe in it or not. Now, how do I know these things? Because I know my left hand. This is my left hand. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to have faith. I don't have to believe. I know what I know. And I've had to fix many a person that used a Ouija board. And the best thing that you can do with a Ouija board is to take it, snap it in half, and burn it.
So where did the perception come that Ouija boards were toys?
Oh,
Something
well,
fun to do, like a party trick.
Well, you have to remember, the best thing to do with an evil thing is to put it out in public view, right? Okay, so it's like that old adage, the best thing that the devil ever did was to convince the world that he didn't exist.
Right.
Okay, well, it's the same thing. The second best is to take something that is a tool of the devil and put it in a toy store. Ooh, Ouija board. It says here that you can have answers from the spirits. Oh, that's got to be a lot of fun. And you know how people are.
Right.
And I hate to say this because I love people. I love people. But many of us act like sheeple. Okay? We follow any fad that comes along.
Right.
It could be Reiki, who evidently started the art 5 years after he was born. And it could be polarity, who I've also had to fix many person that went in for polarity treatments, so I call them calamity treatments. We think that Ghost Hunter is real, and we think that, what's the other show? Paranormal State is real, okay, because they have dead time.
I have dead time in my house. It's never quiet. It never works.
Yeah. Well, electricity is one of those things. Electricity is not the only form of energy that there is.
Exactly.
There are thousands of forms of energy, and you have to think that whoever decided to design this universe, and yes, I'm one of those people that know that God exists. So all of you people that would say that God doesn't exist, sorry, I know this, okay? I know that God exists. I know that someone built all of this. And I also know that the goddess exists, so. So, you have to take into consideration that we are people that are searching constantly for something higher. Okay, we're constantly searching for something that we can believe in. And
on that premise, I'm going to catapult this question. Why is it that some people believe that if you have psychic abilities, or if you see spirits, or if you see ghosts, or if you use the tarot cards, that makes you evil, that you're not of God, or you're not a Christian, or if you do believe in God and Jesus Christ, you wouldn't be involved in such things?
Society, just basic society. We always, and it's jealousy really. I mean, those that cannot see or refuse to see are usually jealous of people who can. So what they do is they say that it's bad. But we've always done that as a society. Think about it just for a while. Years and years ago, they called music that African Americans played evil.
Well, yeah, I remember the whole big to-do. My sister was telling me, like, when Elvis came out, it was, like, unheard of that you had this white man to have the nerve to glorify African Americans by playing their music, singing their music, or dancing, quote unquote, like them.
But
he was considered the devil's spawn.
Well, sure he was, but it happens a lot. Anytime a woman decides to say no, she's considered evil. Anytime she decides to stand up and stand straight and tall, and all of a sudden she's evil. There's something wrong with her. You're not the person that I used to know, and it happens a lot of times, even in my field, I have to compete with people that don't have 1/10 my talent because of the way that I look. I'm this big guy, so I must be evil.
Well, we all know tall people are evil, right?
Yes, even though I smile at them and wave, hey, how you doing? Don't go over there, he's evil. Well, what did he do? Well, I don't know, but he's got to be evil.
Because he's tall, right?
Yeah. But it happens a lot. Think about it just for a second, though. But if people call me evil because of my talent, okay, and they call me evil because I help people, because I get them off of drugs, because I give them a direction in their life and help them and don't take any credit for doing it, fine. Call me evil. You did the same thing to Jesus. Remember, they called him evil. They called Jesus a devil, a sorcerer, a witch, a soothsayer. They called him every name in the book, spat on him, kicked him, beat him, nailed him to a tree, called his wife a harlot, and did all of these maddening things to Jesus. So, what, are you telling me I'm just like him? Good.
That's actually a compliment.
Lad, tell me some more. And I feel like every psychic person, every person that is trying to use their ability in a way to help people, should stand a little taller, because they did the same thing. They did the same thing to Gandhi. They did the same thing to Siddhartha. They did the same thing to Mother Teresa. Okay. And that woman was the same ever there was woman.
Absolutely.
She told people, look, if you can't help people that are sick and you can't do it with a smile on your face, go home.
Exactly.
No part of you.
Exactly.
Okay? They did the same thing to every great person that has ever walked this earth that has tried to help humanity. And I don't consider myself to be half as great as those people.
Right.
So if I can get that same compliment, thank you very, very much.
That's excellent. Now, I have a question for our viewers. If they have questions for you or if they want to get more information, where would they write to? How do they contact you?
Well, you can go to Unicorn Cove, our website, and that's unicorn-cove.com, and you can check us out there. There's a feature, Ask the Unicorn. I'll answer any question that's given to me. So long as that question is a question that makes sense. Don't call me and ask me silly questions such as a person looked at me in the subway, is that my soulmate? 'Cause if you have to ask me, then the answer is no.
Right.
Okay, and yes, soulmates do exist. Okay, whether you believe in them or not. Some of you believe that you have you've had 100,000 soulmates, and that's great. That's good. Yeah, that's really good.
Yeah.
You ask me a common sense question, I will give you a common sense answer. I will challenge anybody who decides that the metaphysical or the paranormal does not exist and is not valid. As a matter of fact, you can call anybody you'd like. I'll sit right in a room with them. Okay? We'll answer these questions. We'll do this again.
Right.
This is our first time doing this, but we will do this again. And perhaps your question will be aired on our show.
That's excellent. Well, I hope you enjoyed our segment for this evening or this morning, depending on what time zone you are. My name is Charlie Alejandro,
And I'm Ahura Z.
and thank you so much for joining us on Ask the Unicorn. We